Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I have a book video for you. One of the things I did this year was I made a New Year's resolution, which I don't usually do those, but I made a New Year's resolution that I wanted to read more books and read less internet crap. I used to be a voracious reader. I used to read, it would be nothing for me to read like a book every 2 days. You know, I would go through them so fast and everything. And in the last couple years, I've really gotten away from that, and I feel the absence of it in my life. Especially now when I think there's so much negativity out there on the television and on the social media and stuff like that. I can't take it. It's depressing. It's making me stressed. It's making me unhappy. And so what I have to start doing, even though it's hard because it's addicting, you know, like our devices, our phones, our tablets, everything like that is really addicting. I have to start putting it away and focusing on things that are quieter and simpler and let my mind be more at ease. So I did start to get on my Goodreads again, and I took the book challenge for 2017, and I said I wanted to challenge myself to read 18 books this year, which 18 books is not a lot of books for somebody that likes to read. You know, that, I mean, that's nothing. But for somebody like me that's gone so long without being into reading, you know, I didn't want to push myself too much or stress myself out even more. So I did read 2 books in January, and I'm actually in the middle of a third one. So I feel pretty good about it. I'll tell you guys, the first one I read was this one by Heather Graham called Let the Dead Sleep, and it's a Cafferty and Quinn novel, and it's the first one. Let me tell you, first of all, that I have a ton of books. I have a ton of books because, like I told you, I used to be a big reader, so I had bought books a lot, like at flea markets, garage sales, things like that. Various book clubs, I ordered books by the dozens, and they were all in boxes, piles to be read, out in our garage and storage and this and that. Then my husband had a used book business for a couple of years. He actually, that was my cat jumping in the window, sorry. He actually had a used book business. And when we decided that he was not going to do that at actually a brick and mortar location like he did have, he started doing it online, and a lot of the stock, I went through it and I picked out what I wanted and kept for myself. So I have a ton of books to read. I am in no shortage of books. I don't need to purchase any books for a long time. So I actually had this book already on my shelf. So anyways, okay, now that I blah, blah, blah. So this was Let the Dead Sleep, a Cafferty and Quinn novel. It's the first one in that series. I haven't read any of the other ones. And you know, if you've never read Heather Graham before, they're not challenging. It's a fast read. It's a simple read. It's a little bit of paranormal, a little bit of romance, a little bit of action. I call these kind of books like fluff, you know, basically, because they're entertaining, but you don't really think about them too much after you're done. You know, you kind of just out of sight, out of mind. Once you read it, you're on to the next. And I think that's okay. You don't, everything you read doesn't have to be like life altering. It's okay to just pick up a fluffy paperback romance or whatever, cozy mystery, and relax for a while. So this was entertaining. It was predictable, but entertaining. So but I would recommend it if you like Heather Graham, or if you're into like those paranormal thriller romance kind of urban fantasy type books. This would be a good one. And it takes place in New Orleans, and if you've ever been to New Orleans and visited there, which I have, and I have family that lived there, it's kind of fun because you recognize different, you know, places that they talk about in the book. And then the second book that I read was this one, End of Watch by Stephen King. And this was actually out. It came out in the summer, and it's the final book in the Bill Hodges trilogy. And I did purchase this with Christmas money. I really was looking forward to reading this because I read the first 2. I have a it's not so much anymore, but I used to be a really big Stephen King fan. And when I say a really big Stephen King fan, not just like, oh, I have all his books. Like, I actually have a group of friends that we all met on an internet discussion board for Stephen King. We get together, we vacation together, we went to Maine, we've been to his house, we've met him. I had books signed by him. I mean, it was bad for many years. My Stephen King obsession was strong, and I have let go of that somewhat. I'm still a fan, but not like I used to be. Not crazy, not like Annie Wilkes or anything. But I was really looking forward to reading this. So I got it, and I really, really like this book. I read it really quickly. I was very into it. It held me all the way through. I thought the first one was the best one. The first one, Mr. Mercedes, excellent, excellent. The second one was Finders Keepers. That was excellent, excellent. And then this one was excellent also. But it wasn't, to me, as good as the first two, but still very good. Very good characters. I love the character of Holly. She's a great character, and I would love to see her have some other pop up. And in the Stephen King world, you know, characters reoccur and pop up a lot. So that's cool. That I would recommend that book. If you're not into, if you don't read Stephen King, which it always amazes me when somebody says, "Oh, I've never read a Stephen King." I'm like, "What? Is that possible?" But it is. So I always tell people that my favorite Stephen King book is Joyland, which it is. I mean, it's a mystery and it has slight paranormal in it, but it's not scary. It's more of a mystery and a slice of life and some romance, and it just, oh, it's such a beautiful book. It really is a beautiful book. So if you never read Stephen King, take Joyland for a spin, and it's wonderful. And then this is the book I'm reading right now. I'm a little bit more than halfway through it, and actually the last 80 pages of this book are footnotes, so I'm probably more than halfway through it. This is by Erik Larson, and it's called In the Garden of Beasts. And technically it's called In the Garden of Beasts, Love, Terror, and an American Family in Hitler's Berlin. And what it is about is the American ambassador to Germany, and before World War II, before we've gotten involved in World War II, and he goes to live in Berlin, and he takes his family, his wife, his daughter, and his son, and his children are grown, but they come with him, and they all live in Berlin. And this is probably about 7 years before we get involved in World War II. And what it's about is how all these atrocities are beginning to happen in Germany. The Jews are beginning to be persecuted and rounded up and put in the concentration camps. And there's all these terrible crimes being committed against Jewish people, and not just Jewish people either. You know, people that don't seem to be sympathetic with the Nazi Party. And, you know, all this unrest is occurring in Germany, and how Americans were so blind to it. We didn't really believe it was happening, and we turned a blind eye for so many years before we actually were kind of forced to get into World War II. It's a very interesting book. It's a very eye-opening book. And if you've never read, Erik Larson also wrote Devil in the White City, so a lot of people are familiar with that book about H.H. Holmes and the Chicago World's Fair. So if you're not familiar with Erik Larson, he writes about true things, true people. He doesn't make up any dialogue. He doesn't suppose what happened in a situation or anything like that. Everything he writes is taken from actual letters, interviews, diaries, journals, newspaper articles. He does meticulous research on all these things, so that he can write a book as if it is a novel almost. You know, it unfolds like a novel, but it's real. It's real history. So this book is a little bit slower going for me than usually, but it's because the German names sound similar to me, and I kind of had to backtrack. And then I look up things on Google when I don't know something or I want to know more about it. I look things up. So it's been challenging to me to read this one. I love Devil in the White City. I went through that one really quick, but this one is a little bit more challenging. But that's good because it, you know, makes my brain work, and that's what reading's all about. So I'm looking forward to finishing this one, and then I have a couple more that I already have lined up to read in February. So I'm just glad to be reading again, and it's okay if nobody watches this video but me. Well, I don't need to watch it. I already filmed it, but you know what I mean. So thank you so much for watching. Have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll get back to you. Let me know what you're reading or looking forward to reading, and I will see you guys in the next video. I have some Avon videos lined up coming up soon. Don't worry, my channel's not going to turn into coloring in books all the time. I have Avon videos lined up, my Campaign 5 video, and some things I purchased, you know, with my Campaign 4 order, so I'll be showing those. So it's just going to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.